Stop creating chaos.
You do not stand for me, and I want you to step down.
The mayor of Dolton, Tiffany Henyard, lashed out at her board of trustees during another tense meeting.
She vetoed the board's decision to require the village to open its financial books.
Say about the person, y'all say he's never at work, he'll do his job. Is this what y'all say? So what we doing, guys?
I can say what I want because what I'm saying is
don't touch my son. Don't touch my son.
He know what I'm saying.
He don't have no warrant for his arrest. He don't have no paperwork or nothing.
You ain't no real man.
No.
It's a great day in Dolton. Justice is being served.
In a surprising turn of events, Dolton Chief of Police Louis Lacey has been indicted. This isn't just another scandal. It could be the one that finally brings down Dolton's self-styled super mayor Tiffany Henyard. So what does this indictment mean for Henyard? Could her empire of corruption be falling apart? And will her top cop be facing years in prison? Turn on her to save himself? Let's find out together, shall we? But of course, before we go any further, make sure first that you subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell for more updates and videos like this. Now, let's get going.
Acting police chief of Dolton now facing federal charges. A grand jury indicted him on bankruptcy fraud charges today.
So Lightfoot's investigation, at least according to trustees, is back on now.
She did admit to a $2 million budget deficit. However, trustees say it's really millions more.
Mayor Tiffany Henyard last night wasting no time shutting down trustees and critics.
The veto message is related to the secret screw.
Prosecutors laid out a 9-count indictment against the Dolton official, claiming he devised a scheme to defraud by way of filing for bankruptcy.
Louis Lacey, Dolton's chief of police, and one of Henyard's closest allies, has been hit with charges that could put him away for a long time. Louis Lacey is facing charges related to a money scheme that rocked Dolton. But some people think there's more to this story. The indictment, which has 9 counts, says Lacey lied under oath to hide his assets and income. To avoid paying over $440,000 in a lawsuit settlement, he's charged with bankruptcy fraud, making false statements in a bankruptcy case, and perjury, each carrying up to 5 years. In prison, Lacey, who is 61 and lives in Madison, recently showed up in court wearing a blue suit, only spoke briefly to confirm that he understood the charges. Lacey's lawyer Gal Petty pleaded not guilty for him. Even though Petke argued against it, US Magistrate Judge Beth Chance decided that Lacey must hand over his work gun and 2 other guns from his home. He also had to give up his firearm. Owner's ID card, however, Judge Chance said she might reconsider these restrictions if Petke can show how they affect Lacey's jobs with the DeLand Police Department. A status hearing is scheduled for October 1st with U.S. District Judge Thomas Durkin. The charges against Lacey aren't related to his police work, but they add to the federal investigation.
Ma'am, are you refusing to give me your license?
I gave you my driver's license number.
Give me your license.
I'm not going to reach. Give me an officer, another officer come out, reach for it. I'm not going to reach. I got guns on me, and my stuff is in.
Lacey's indictment is just the latest problem for Mayor Henyard, who has already faced several federal subpoenas this year. Lacey's lawyer told the press that the charges are part of a bigger effort to discredit the mayor. Pizzey highlighted Lacey's long service and strong reputation as a police officer in Dolton. This is a witch hunt trying to bring down Mr. Lacey to get to the mayor, Pizzey said, believing Lacey is being targeted to undermine Henyard. The Village of Dolton's trustees recently decided to put Lacey on indefinite administrative leave. However, Petke has challenged this move, saying the trustees don't have the authority to do that and arguing that Lacey should still be paid. They're acting in a way that, in my opinion, isn't legal, Petke said, noting that it's the mayor who signs the paychecks. I had trouble following it as well, but now Keith Freeman is cooperating, doing what he should have been done in the first place, cooperating with the trustees absolutely doing his job. The indictment shows that Lacey has a long history of financial trouble starting back in the 1980s with several personal bankruptcy filings in Chicago. The latest filings in 2019 and 2020 apparently helped him delay a settlement he had agreed to in 2017 with someone in a state court case. The lawsuit was about a woman whose husband was killed in 2012. The lawsuit claims that Lacey visited the woman multiple times and persuaded her to give him tens of thousands of dollars from her husband's life insurance payout. While Lacey admitted in court papers that he had expressed sympathy and checked On her well-being, he denied taking any money. The lawsuit was eventually settled for $55,000, with Lacey making an initial payment of $112,000. However, the fraud charges say that Lacey filed for bankruptcy twice to avoid paying the remaining $43,000. Court documents show that Lacey didn't fully report his monthly income and hid bank accounts he controlled in his filings and statements under oath. He also allegedly lied about being separated from his wife, claiming she didn't live with him or help with his income and mortgage payments. These lies help Lacey lower his reported income and dodge creditors, according to the charges. This indictment isn't just a random event. It could be the start of taking down the whole corrupt system Henyard has built. It's a big moment for Dolton, and it feels like justice is finally being served. What makes this even more interesting is that Lacey isn't just a police chief. He's been one of Henyard's most loyal supporters, allegedly doing her dirty work for years to really grasp the situation. We need to look at how Tiffany Henyard has reportedly turned the Dolton Police Department into her personal enforcers. Under her leadership, the police force is said to have become a group of thugs, doing everything from extorting local businesses to intimidating political rivals and providing private security for Henyard and her allies. He, Freeman, do not work here. He's FI, so stop playing these silly games, board of trustees, and putting people in ya. Do what you want. But anything after this is insubordination. Lacey's indictment is a big crack in the corrupt system. If he chooses to cooperate with investigators to avoid a long prison sentence, he could expose a lot about how Henyard has misused the police force. And there's a lot he could spill. Here's where it gets really interesting, with Lacey facing serious charges. He might start talking to save himself. If he does, Henyard could be in big trouble. We've seen this happen before. When people are backed into a corner, they're often ready to share everything to save themselves. Lacey has been in Henyard inner circle, so he knows all the secrets. Figuratively speaking, if he starts talking, Henyard could end up facing criminal charges too. And Lacey wouldn't be the first to flip. There are already rumors that others in Henyard's administration are ready to turn on her as well. In fact, some already have 6 months ago. Robert Collins, the former police chief of South Suburban Dolton, finally spoke out about the controversial security detail provided to Mayor Tiffany Henyard. Collins explained how the mayor's demands for personal protection made it harder for him to fight crime in the community. There would be 2 officers or 3 officers. And depending on if there was some type of event, it would be more officers. In 2023, a Fox 32 investigation revealed that Henyard's security detail wasn't just pulling officers away from patrolling the streets, but it was also costing taxpayers thousands of dollars in overtime. The strain on police resources became a serious problem under Collins' leadership. The manpower was stretched so thin that it almost broke. Collins shared that instead of having officers on patrol where they were needed, they were assigned to protect the mayor, now living in Florida after being fired by Henyard late last year. Collins expressed his deep frustration. He talked about leading a police department that was already short-staffed and overworked while still being forced to allocate resources to Henyard's large personal security detail. We desperately needed these officers on the streets fighting crime, Collins said. But instead, they were assigned to chauffeur the mayor around. It's wrong, and someone needs to be held accountable. It turns out that Dolton police officers were spending their days driving Henyard around, often to her second taxpayer-funded job as Thornton Township Supervisor in South Holland. An open records request showed that these officers were racking up hundreds of hours in overtime, costing taxpayers tens of thousands of dollars. This level of security for a small town with just over 20,000 residents struggling financially raised serious concerns. Dolton often has only a few police officers on duty per shift, and Collins argued that those officers were urgently needed elsewhere. Henyard's security detail was initially justified starting in 2021 after a police-involved shooting in Dolton led to protests and threats against her. Collins agreed that the detail was needed during that tense period. But as the protests died down, the security didn't just continue, it expanded. Collins noticed that it quickly became clear the officers were being used more for personal errands than for real security. Meets Collins shared that officers assigned to Henyard were often sent to run errands, pick up and drop off items, and do other tasks that had little to do with protecting the mayor. The security detail also racked up thousands of dollars in travel expenses as they accompanied Henyard on Utah-town trips. Why would the mayor need a security detail on Utah-town trips? Collins questioned who exactly is posing a threat to her at these distant locations. Henyard's security detail made it hard for Collins to tackle crime in Dolton in February. A gun event on Cy Boulevard left 4 people injured, a tragedy that Collins thinks could have been less severe with a stronger police presence.